Member. Do we have apologies for today?
Yes, good afternoon, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Crump.
Oh, and before I start, I really ought to read out the instruction: fire evacuation, no planned fire alarms. If it goes off, please make your way out of the building via the nearest fire exit to the car park beside the Windmill Public House, and make sure that the microphones are directly in front of you and switched on and logged on if you want to speak. We won't move the microphones, I'm sure. Okay, disclosures of interest. Any disclosures that are not on the agenda as written already? No. And my list of standard disclosures is there: Act on Energy and Heart of England Community Energy, and Councillor Petrovic's volunteer with Net Zero Stratford are all on. We've got the minutes to confirm and sign the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 2nd of September. That was a public participation meeting, and I have no problems with the minutes because I did read them and actually followed up, and it is it was in there about me inviting somebody to a follow-up meeting, and I can confirm that that has taken place. Okay. Anybody? Are you all happy with the minutes?
Happy with the minutes, yeah.
Are you going to confirm them? Do we need a forwarder? I'll propose, and Jenny will second. Yeah. Okie doke. The next is the matters arising, and the first one is the Community Climate Change and Climate and Nature Fund. I think, Eddie, are you going to speak to this one? And just to update us with the final round that's just happened?
Yes, yeah, happily. I'm sorry if my internet's been a bit dodgy today, so apologies if I drop in and out. But yeah, it's just an update on the Community Climate and Nature Fund. So as you're all probably well aware, round 3 opened in May of 2025 with the aim of distributing £150,000 to local councils, charities and community groups in the council area, for a multitude of climate change initiatives. So this is supposed to be distributed in 4 separate tranches. So the first of which was in July, which I updated you on at the last panel. And we've recently just distributed £35,000 in the second tranche. So we held a meeting, appraisal meeting on the 22nd of October, and we approved 6 projects in that meeting. So for those that are interested, the projects that received funding were as follows. So the first was £10,000 to Welford Bowls Club to install 60 solar panels on the roof and battery storage installation. The second of which was around £4,000 to Poppers Lane Wood Trust. So they've got a 0.6 hectare site which they're looking to restore and replant with that money. The third of which was £5,500 to Henley and Arden Parish Council to deliver a biodiversity project. This consisted of the planting of wildflower meadows and bulbs across multiple sites in Henley. £3,000 went to Tyso Tennis Club to upgrade the club.
We can't hear you, Eddie.
And 6.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, was someone cutting in?
We got Tyso Tennis Club and then you cut out after that, Eddie.
Oh, apologies. The next was £6,000 to Henley Memorial Hall to install 3 air source heat pumps in their hall, and another £6,000 went to Kyneton Village Hall to install 2 air source heat pumps in that room in their hall as well. As I mentioned at the last meeting, those that were unsuccessful in the fund will receive feedback within the coming weeks. We aim to typically deliver feedback within around 4 weeks of the application window closing. And we're also continuing to work on communications around the fund. So we currently have a setup where we track when projects are supposed to finish, and then we'll reach out to the successful applicants for a case study template, and then once we get information back from them, pictures, etc., we'll then upload them to the website. Yes, Letty, you have a question?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Really exciting. All really great projects, it sounds. I just had a question as you were talking about the case studies and templates. Do we have like a set of outcomes, I guess, that we're tracking this project against in terms of whether that's reducing carbon footprint, biodiversity net gain, anything that can be quantified?
No, that's a good point to raise. We do not currently have any way of quantifying the outcomes that we've achieved.
But just to add to that one of the things that we have said is that we want to be updated with the outcome from the projects that have been successful. But also, one of the things that was in the original terms, when we set it out, was that communication about what was being done and why was to be part of it, because the idea is to communicate more widely. For example, the Great Elm one, not only did they communicate with Walk about, and all other parish councils, about the outcome of their particular work, but also they were featured at the local climate engagement programme, which we're going to come on to. The whole idea is that every single project should be able to communicate with those people that come into a village hall or whatever, and tell them why it's being done, and the purposes and the benefits, so that other people can emulate what they've been doing. Is that helpful, Letty?
Yeah, no, I mean, I am all about case studies and qualitative impact, if you like. But I think in terms of what we need, given that we are doing our carbon emissions scope 1, 2, and 3 as part of our plan, it would obviously be immensely helpful if we could include those measures. So I don't know whether that's something that we could potentially look at for the final round to be included, and that those templates in terms of what we are expecting them to measure. Obviously, it's difficult because some of these will require kind of longer periods of time of monitoring, but I think putting that on people's agendas and into their minds, and we do need their data, would be a good start.
I mean, I think that could be difficult because they're very varied. So it's very difficult to measure, for example, a biodiversity one compared to a solar panels. And also when they are volunteers, sometimes we don't want to put so much work on them that they don't want to apply. Nigel, have you got any input that you would like? I know that I'm going to call you in on the local climate engagement, because I know you've got a question to ask under that, so I will bring you in then. But have you got a comment to make on this particular?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I wasn't going to specifically comment on that, but I will say is that when I used to run an ISO 14001 scheme, we used to measure everything that we did for that. And as you quite rightly say, Chair, if you've got a PV scheme or an A-source heat pump scheme, you could actually measure the carbon reduction from that very readily, but you can't really compare that if you've got a biodiversity scheme. It's very difficult to come up with objective quantifiable numbers for that. But anyway, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to suggest that when we do have a scheme, for instance, in a village hall or any scheme anywhere, I mean, I know the district council, if local government reorganisation goes ahead, its days are numbered. But I just wondered, when we do allocate funds for a particular scheme, whether a plaque should not be put in, particularly in the village hall or anywhere it could be put, saying the funds for this scheme were awarded by Stratford District Council. We should strut our stuff, I think. Any buildings that I've been to where it's been funded by, dare I say, the European Union or that sort of thing, they put a plaque in. So it's a recommendation to consider. And thank you for letting me speak, because I'm merely an observer in this particular situation. Thank you.
Thanks. I've got Jenny, who's on the panel here, coming in.
Thank
Councillor Fradgley.
To do with measurement, I mean, I always find it very, very disturbing that we spend lots and lots of money on people doing good stuff, but we never get anything measurable back from it. Just been said, I'm sure heat pumps, PVs, we could ask for bills, energy bills and that kind. I mean, you can actually measure that. Is there any measurement in existence on sequestration of carbon through trees? So if you're planting 10 trees, there is over 40 years, you would expect these trees to sequester so much. So people actually do get an idea of what trees actually do for them in real terms.
I think, I'm sure there is, but perhaps we can take these suggestions away. Councillor Keithley?
Thank you, Chair. I think that listening to the questions, I think they're good questions, but I tend to agree with you. I think that sort of introducing onerous measurements that are required from those that are running village halls and the like over perhaps many years is quite a big ask, and it's also quite a big problem for us to continue to monitor it all. What I was going to ask Edward is, what's set out in the business cases in the first place, because probably when they apply, the benefits that are going to accrue from the investment should be identified then, and it might be better to use that as the basis for this rather than to be ringing round village halls for the next 10 years asking how much they've got off their PV panels and their roof. I can see that being problematic. And I'm wondering what we're going to do with that. So I'd turn to the business case up front.
I think, Eddie, you'll be able to confirm that a lot of that information is in the is how we judge the how those grants are judged against each other as to whether they meet the criteria, and also you know, those that score highly and they score for a reason. Are you able to confirm that? Councillor Fredgley.
I do understand that it is difficult if you're asking for minute measurements on a regular basis. However, I'm sure there is some generic information about trees that could be going out there to tell people the benefit of trees and how much carbon they actually do. And that wouldn't be down to the people planting the trees, but you could say if you're...
Jenny, could you speak into the microphone?
Sorry. If you're planting 10 trees, then we would expect over this period of time this would be set. So it's not to do with them, it's to do with us putting that information out so people are aware of it. And I'm sure all properly run village halls are actually looking at their energy bills, and that's where the information about how effective PVs are would come from, without any extra work, not expecting extra work.
No, that's useful. They say it was the original idea behind this was to get people interested, engaged, and doing things practically. And then and then the idea was to communicate why people were addressing climate change and the benefits, therefore, from addressing climate change. But it was to get communities involved, and that was the aim of the grant. So, Councillor Petrovic.
Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of thinking more strategically, I guess, if we want to, or if we are going to expect the government to continue funding this agenda in the years to come, which we obviously all want to continue, then I think, like with any kind of funding for any kind of measures, data is king. That is something that we will be asked, or, you know, whatever form our council, future council takes. So I think it is very prudent to start thinking about that as soon as possible, because I think we will get to the point where actually some of those impacts will need to be quantified to, not to justify, but to make sure that people do understand, as you say, how important and valuable this is.
Thank you very much. I think that's been a good discussion. We can take away those points, and when we have our regular meeting with yourself, Eddie, and Ellie, once she gets back, we can have a look and with Tony Perks as well, and to see and to take these what your comments to them, and then report back later. Okay, so the next one, before I start talking about the local climate engagement programme, Councillor Rox, you had a question you wanted to put. You've submitted it to it. Would you like to outline to us? And then we probably won't be able to get an answer here and now, but if you could put the question to us, and then we can make sure that it's taken away and we get an answer for you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I've circulated the question. Do I need to read it out, or has everybody seen it?
I think probably read it out, because I think not everybody will have had the chance to necessarily see it. It would be wise just to read it out.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, thank you for taking the late question, because it only arose from me poring over the details in the State of the District report. So I'll read it out verbatim. It's quite short. Arising from the recent District Council meeting was information in the State of the District report on fuel poverty. 14.9% of households in the district were in fuel poverty, according to the latest data for 2023, compared to 17% in the West Midlands and 11.4% in England. But our rural areas score lower than that in the overall figure. Areas in my ward perform poorly in terms of the proportion of households in fuel poverty, with Ladbroke and Priors being worst on that measure at 25%. Other rural areas in this ward were similar poor performance. Enquiries with officers indicated this may be a combination of lack of mains gas heating, heritage buildings, private landlords, and lower rural incomes. Further examination of the source data shows that while the proportion is variable across lower super output areas, the core number of households is actually quite similar, with over 60% of lower output areas having more than 100 households in fuel poverty. And I've sent a table round which we could look at if needs be. What mechanisms could the council deploy to address this situation? For instance, could the local climate community engagement programme be used to identify the properties and households in question and derive an action plan?
Thank you very much indeed for...
would you like me to say any more, Chair?
Sorry?
Would you like me to say anything else?
No, I think that is a very, very comprehensive question. What I think we'll need to do is obviously have a look at the statistics, and then look at what work is being done by the various grants schemes that the District Council has in its. Many of them come from government, or whether they Act on Energy or other organisations are able to fill in, and then put a report back, so that we can report back to you on why this, because if it's private landlords that are causing some of the problem, it may be that this is something outside of our remit, and we may have to take it elsewhere. But we need to perhaps have a look at the statistics and come back to you with a sensible question, set of answers to your questions. Is that okay? We'll try and see, and then we can report back at the next panel, because I think it's something that perhaps this panel ought to look at, and maybe ask some questions about why it is that some areas are having fuel poverty in this day and age. Okay, and Councillor Keithley.
Thank you, Chair. Just to comment on the question, and perhaps an opportunity to look at things like the EPC ratings of properties, because it's relatively easy to get that EPC data, and private landlords, I think, have got to meet certain levels of EPC rating. So maybe there's something in that. There's a mechanism to already identify the houses that are most energy inefficient.
Yes, indeed. If there's anybody that's not meeting the EPC, then there is probably some way of addressing that. So yes, we'll have a look at it more depth and get back to you and make sure that it's raised at the next panel. If you know your answer can come before, but we'll raise it because I think it's it's something that we need to address as a panel as well. Okay, because we may want to take it elsewhere or devise programmes to address it. Okay. Moving on then, we got...
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Well, look, I hope you look forward to... I hope you'll get the answer that you require, but we need to do some research.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Local Climate Engagement Programme, we're going to have an update on this programme. Now, this is a dual programme that was originally started as a result of a grant between Warwick District Council and Stratford District Council and has been relaunched in October. Eddie, would you like to kind of outline the update of the relaunch that took place in Leamington?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think off the back of Councillor Rock's question, I think I'll just quickly reintroduce the objectives of the scheme. So from the relaunch, we've set aside 3 core aims really. So the first of those would be to create a new expression of interest form to give out to local councils and community groups, where they can ask the programme for assistance. So this can be anything from being able to promote a small event or helping to deliver a singular or maybe multiple projects over a period of months or perhaps even years, depending on the request. Obviously, requests will be sort of sifted through on a case-by-case basis, and will obviously determine which projects to assist based on our resources. But that's mainly what we're looking to do from there. We're also obviously looking to run engagement events such as the one we held last month, which I'll go into. And also we've looked to create a joint LCU website. So this will be, I think the domain will be on it'll be on the South Warwickshire domain. And the aim of it is to combine and share all of the resources that we've put together from SCC, from Warwick, from the Warwick Association of Local Councils, who we work with too, as well as all the other experts and stakeholders we've consulted and worked with over the past year. Hopefully that website will go live in November, but still waiting to see whether it will go live then, based on we need to get all the resources up, and there's a decent amount to get up there still. So yeah, hopefully the end of November. So moving on to the event itself. So the event was held in Leamington Town Hall on Friday the 17th of October, and we had close to 80 attendees. I believe also Councillor Hatch was in attendance from the panel. So the morning consisted of a delivery of multiple workshops. So we had 3 workshops that were being run with a capacity of about 20 attendees per workshop. So the first of which was biodiversity, who made a presentation, 2 lots of 1-hour-long presentations. We received presentations from the Wildlife Trust, from Warwickshire County Council, and from Swan. There was also a climate adaptation workshop, which was delivered by Great Orme Parish Council, and also representatives again from the Wildlife Trust and the County Council. And also there was a community energy workshop, which was led by Acton Energy and the West Midlands Net Zero Hub. So yeah, as I think I mentioned, these were hour-long workshops, and they were delivered on 2 occasions back to back, where all attendees were able to ask questions and receive advice from the experts that were presenting. So following that, there was a short lunch break in the middle. This was followed by an afternoon of networking. So all the experts that were present at the workshops also had their own stalls set up for around 2 hours in the afternoon. We also had a stall from Stratford District Council. Warwick also had their own as well, where obviously all the experts were able to take questions and give advice to attendees on a sort of face-to-face basis rather than in front of a room. So yeah, that was the day really. The feedback we received has been largely positive, with a few comments on how to improve next time, but of course it was our first attempt, so we were expecting some room for improvement. We also hope to run another event next year, and we continue to welcome feedback from those that attended.
Thank you very much
So, yeah.
indeed. That's appreciated, the feedback. I'd be very, very interested indeed to make sure that a similar event runs in Stratford District Council as part of the public engagement for next year. We did do one here in this chamber, which was very, very popular before the relaunch. And I would like to have more, you know, maybe another one similar to the one that you did in October, here in somewhere in Stratford or somewhere in this district. So the whole idea was that it was the people who advised the local climate engagement originally were involved, who work with citizens panels, and it was to try and find ways in which we could engage, work with parish councils, work with residents, work with other organisations, again to communicate the whole idea that we do need to, where we cannot do things ourselves as a district council, we can influence others to do things to address climate change. Councillor Petrovic.
Thank you, Eddie, for this update as well. So I guess it sounds like it was a very positive event, and I'm sorry I couldn't attend. I guess my only concern is that it actually, that we actually have some follow-up actions from that we can take forward. So what the chair was saying about having the partnerships and identifying the right stakeholders that we can work with to help us deliver some of these projects, actions, initiatives. I would be really interested to hear if there was anything in particular that those who attended for the council should be doing more of, or that they saw their responsibility to take those things forward. And I don't know if you have that in feedback specifically, but it would be really useful.
Thank you.
Okay, I can certainly look through the feedback. It's currently being dealt with by officers at Warwick, so I can ask them to let me know if there's anything on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you very much, Eddie, and all the officers to Warwick that took part as well. Councillor Hatch, you'll probably be able to give some feedback from your particular point of view from the panel.
I just wanted to share my highlights, I suppose, which was hearing about Great Arn Parish Council and how they have managed to build a really active community and get through sort of to give you a very brief background. It was after the 2023 floods where they suffered a lot of flooding and realised a lot of work needs to be done with their drains and unblocking their drains. And they sort of instead, they did complain to Highways through the county council, but it was really them engaging with the community and activating the community that sort of almost kick-started county council. It enabled the county council to work better with them. So they've had a really good a change of the way their flood management operates in that village. And it was sparked by the parish council there, I think. And that was it was a great example of getting things done. So that was my highlight.
And I can confirm that actually other parish councils have learnt from that one and are working on similar programmes as a result of that particular pilot programme that was developed there. I went to see it as I've been to see about 6 of the things that were funded by the Climate Change and Nature Fund, and I was particularly impressed by that one. Okay. Thank you very much for that update. I hope that this will become, something that will roll out next year, and that we'll have another event, and also we'll keep the steering group and work more closely with parish and town councils and other organisations. So another update at a relevant time would be appreciated. Okay. Moving on then to carbon literacy training, and I'm enrolled on this one, but Eddie Harper, would you like to update us on what's happening there?
Yeah, so I think we've had a few attempts to get this training on over the last year or so, but we've finally got it in the calendar. So yeah, carbon literacy training has now been made available to SDC officers, and also we've initially sent the invite out to councillors in the cabinet as well. But we may look to expand this out depending on demand for the course. So the course will allow us to gain a bronze carbon literacy accreditation, and it will aim to teach attendees about following subjects which have been tailored by the suppliers to be relevant to SDC. So the subjects are as follows. So climate science, climate change impacts, the co-benefits of climate action, the current UK and Stratford DC policy positions, managing carbon footprints, and climate action planning. So these two sessions there's one on the 25th of November, and there's another on the 2nd of December. They'll be 7 hours long, and there's 45 spaces available in total. So again, as I said, we've currently sent the invite out to just select a number of officers and councillors in the cabinet, but we could look to expand this depending on demand for the course. I think we've currently had 20 spaces taken, so there are still more available.
And we'll obviously widen them as they become available. Councillor Keithley.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Eddie, for that. Can you just explain the accreditation scheme a little bit? I think you mentioned that having a certain number of people through this would give us some sort of bronze accreditation, did you?
Yeah.
Which suggests to me there might be something like a silver and a gold and a platinum level as well.
Yeah.
So
I haven't looked into the silver and gold beyond that, but I'm aware that, yeah, obviously to get those accreditations, we need to go through bronze initially, and I think we need around 30 officers to gain certificates in order to gain the carbon literacy accreditation. There's also a few more hoops you have to go through as well, but in terms of
And Chair, what's the accreditation body? What's the body that awards this bronze certificate or whatever it is?
I believe it's the Carbon Literacy Project.
The Carbon Literacy Project. Okay, thank you.
I mean, I followed up with an ex-colleague of mine that is an officer at Powys Council, because they've had some carbon literacy training, and they also have connections with Keele University. So I've sent that information on to Ellie and Tony Perks as well, just to just for information, really, to let them know what Paris is doing. Okay, thank you for that update. Can you update us on the next item, which is item 7, which is about free trees for town and parish councils, and that's a scheme that's now open. So perhaps you could update us on that.
Yeah. So this fund was open on the 14th of October after we got the application form cleared by legal. So this fund, there's £50,000 available, and it's available for, again, local councils, community groups, and charities. Sorry, it's just local councils. My bad. It's just town and parish councils. So this scheme will remain open until the middle of January at the very latest. So it'll be on a first come first served basis. So applicants that come forward and give a suitable application will be able to receive the funding very quickly, and as soon as the funding has been used up, then the application window will close. We currently have had 3 applications so far, and we had, I believe, Sue Greenhall ran an expression of interest project, and she managed to gauge some numbers there. I think she found there's excess of 20 people that came back to her. So we're expecting demand to be met in terms of, we're expecting the funding to probably be used up before the January deadline.
Councillor Fraggy.
Thank you, Sans. Is this for land that the district council holds. How would this work if there is partnership with the county? Because the Station Bank has recently been cleared completely, and talking to Councillor Grocott and one or two others about what we do about replanting that, and we've got some ideas coming forward. Would this money, if when we've actually finally agreed with the county council what's going to be done, because it's their land, if there was some funding shortfall, could we apply to this even though it's going to be done on county land?
Perhaps that's
I was
something.
a bit long-winded.
Yeah. Could I suggest that that's something you take up with Eddie and Tony Perks, because since it involves county council land, you might need to explain in more detail what the site you're talking about and which officer you need to go to for permission. So maybe that's something you can take up. But as you mentioned before, planting of trees. It does have a standard kind of carbon, measurement. So every time we plant a tree, we just know, as long as it survives, we know that there will be a carbon reduction. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for that. That's really appreciated. And unless anybody's got any questions, I haven't got any urgent business. But what I would like to do after the meeting is finished, I'll bring you in, Councillor Fradley, is to actually have a discussion with the members of the panel about future plans. So if you could stay on after the meeting is ended. But Councillor Fradley first.
I'm not sure if this might be more useful in the discussion after this meeting, because it's not agendaed and it's about Lench Meadow.
Yes, again, is there anything that, any particular thing about Lench Meadow that you might want to talk about?
Yeah, I was made aware by one resident who's been working very, very closely with the district and with the town trust. And this summer, because it was so hot and so dry, the lake there, dried out completely. Bitterns, egrets, all kinds of birds that were beginning to come in have now gone. Thousands of fish have died, all the insects have gone, and it's sitting right next to a river. And I was wondering why there isn't a capacity for filling the lake when we get these extreme hot weathers. I mean, there must be a capacity to pump some water over, or even build a channel that the river actually keeps the lake going, because it doesn't have a natural fill, as I understand. But when I was being told about this, I just thought this is a mistake in the planning when we're so close to a river and we're going to have hotter and hotter summers, to make sure that that lake with its fish actually survives.
That could be something that we could take up as, there isn't a group of people that work with the town trust on that. Perhaps, Eddie, if you could make sure that Tony Perks knows about this, and it could be taken up as an issue at that next meeting between the people that are involved in Lench Meadow.
Could I just actually add to that? I do understand that some requests were made to the waterways, whatever environmental agency, and there was a reluctance to use river water to do this, whereas they're using river water to irrigate the fields on the way down. And this just seems, would possibly be a fairly small amount of water to keep the levels up and the fish surviving.
I think we need to explore in more depth about that and having an engagement with the people concerned, so that we know exactly what the basis is of that. Thank you very much indeed. So if nobody's got any other questions, if I kind of say that the meeting's finished to